Today on Are You Psychic Too? We're talking about awakening. What happens when you begin to see yourself, your life, and the world through new eyes? Is awakening a single life-changing moment? Or is it a series of realizations that gradually transform the way you experience life? And why do so many people report synchronicities, vivid dreams, heightened intuition, and a growing sense of there's something more to reality than they once believed? Today, we're exploring the signs, the challenges, the unexpected twists, and the deeper questions that often arise along the way. Whether you're just beginning your journey or you've been walking this path for years, this conversation may help you make sense of experiences that once seemed impossible to explain. And as always, we're asking the question, are you psychic too? Hey, star people. Welcome to Are You Psychic Too? The podcast where we explore intuition, spirituality, synchronicity, and all the strange and wonderful experiences that make us ask, what's really going on here? Today, we're talking about awakening. It's a word that gets used a lot, but it can mean different things to different people. Today, we're talking specifically about spiritual awakening. So when you hear me say the word awakening, I'm talking about spiritual awakening, the process of becoming more aware of yourself, your connection to something greater, and the deeper nature of reality. For many people, that also shows up as emotional, psychological, and life changes, but we're using the term in its spiritual sense today. Many people describe awakening as a growing awareness of themselves and their lives. They begin questioning old beliefs, noticing patterns that they never saw before, feeling drawn toward deeper meaning, or experiencing a stronger sense of intuition and connection. Whatever form it takes, awakening, spiritual awakening, is ultimately a shift in perspective, a process that changes how we see ourselves, our experiences, and the world around us. So let's dive in and talk about what awakening really looks like, how it shows up, and why so many people seem to be talking about it these days. I'm your host, Cliff, but I could not do this alone. Jenni, Kelsey, how are you guys doing today?
Doing well. I'm Jenni, psychic therapist and spiritual alarm clock.
Ring, ring.
And I'm great, but I'm Kelsey. I'm a psychic intuitive, energy healer, and dream interpreter.
There you go. Well, so guys, what does awakening mean to you personally?
I believe, and in my scope of practice, I believe that Jung said it best. And he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In other words, until we bring whatever's in the dark into the light, we will keep seeking the whole. In many traditions, awakening is described as remembering who we truly are beneath the roles, the conditioning, the programming, and the beliefs that we've accumulated through life. Psychologically, it often involves bringing unconscious material into conscious awareness that we don't even know is there, to be honest. This happens throughout life. Spiritually, it can feel like reconnecting to something larger than our individual self. One of the greatest misconceptions about awakening is that it makes us better or more evolved or somehow beyond our ordinary human struggles. In reality, awakening often reveals itself how unconscious we've actually been. That aha, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't see it, and how has this taken so long? That's kind of what I'm referring to. So rather than transcending our humanity, awakening asks us to become more intimate with it. We begin to see our wounds, our defenses, our projections, fears, and our patterns more clearly. So everything that's been suppressed long ago and rejected, when it comes into light, it can feel a little destabilizing, but it's humbling at the same time. And it kind of dismantles the persona or mask that we've been wearing all along unconsciously.
My goodness. That's a lot of Jung in there.
That's a lot of psychological stuff.
Yes, it is. Kelsey, what does awakening mean to you, Kels?
Well, I think for me, like personally, spiritual awakening to me, it's about coming to this realization that there's a balance between my spiritual nature and my human nature, and that they both exist. So becoming more aware of the relationship between my human life and spirit. That's what I think about.
Now, Jenni, you talked a little bit about emotional, psychological. Does an awakening involve emotional, psychological, or spiritual aspects, or are they all part of the same process?
I believe it depends on the individual. I think that everything ends up being spiritual, and that's just where I come from. Mm-hmm. But psychologically, you can dissect it, possibly, and see the growth because it's written about or because you're following. But it ends up being spiritual because as you grow into more awareness of your whole self or your true self, that is a spiritual process. And it contains emotions, less thought, more feelings.
Yeah.
And you just become more aware of your feelings self. And that's why there's meaning involved.
Right. Do you think that awakening happens suddenly or gradually?
I think it's both.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
definitely.
I just, speaking to my own personal experience, it was a very sudden realization, a moment where I was like, oh my God, moving out of like this victim mentality of like my wounds. Now I look back and I'm like, okay, this is my wounds controlling my reality, and realizing that I didn't have to keep riding this hamster wheel. Like I could just hop off and say, I don't want it to be like this anymore.
Was this the moment when you had that first reading?
Yeah, this was that. It was that after that moment or after that reading, I was like, oh, I am not the victim here. And I don't think even then I would consider myself a victim, but I could definitely see in that moment how I was just letting my wounds run my life,
Right. They become patterns.
Yeah, I'm a patterns.
I'm a pattern. One of the most common signs of awakening is the feeling that something inside you is shifting, even before you fully understand what's happening. Many people begin noticing more synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, that seem too perfectly timed to ignore. Emotional sensitivity can increase as well, making you more aware of your own feelings and the energy of people around you. Some people start feeling disconnected from old routines, old friendships, or environments that once felt comfortable, while at the same time feeling a strong pull toward healing, self-discovery, and deeper understanding. Awakening can also heighten intuition and create a need for more solitude, quiet, or time to reflect. And strangely, it often feels both exciting and confusing at once, as if your awareness is expanding faster than the rest of your life can keep up with. So, you guys, did any of your relationships shift as you changed, as you moved towards awakening?
Hell yes.
Yeah, I'll double that.
I mean, what happens is when you're awakening to your true self and you're removing all of the persona of identity that everyone formerly knew you as, when that breaks apart, they don't recognize you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the collapse of the old you is not familiar to them. And that's unsettling for some. And some are going to ride along with you and love you through it, no matter what. And some are going to say, you know what, you're making me feel uncomfortable. I don't like this new you. Why have you changed? And the problem is that after you're awakened, you're like, oh, okay, this isn't going to stop. This is who I am now. So I guess this relationship is going to be changed.
Yeah. I had a very mellow awakening experience. I feel like it was, as I was awake, it was a very gradual process of, realizing all these things. But I think it changed once I took the responsibility to heal, So I realized like it's my responsibility to work on these own woundings, and that's part of the awakening, right?
Right, losing that identity.
Did you lose friends along the way?
No, I didn't lose friends. Well, I lost friends before that, but maybe they were having an awakening. But I mean, I think like there was some resistance around me. Like, there were some people who were unhappy who were around me, but I think I wouldn't stop. Like, I didn't stop healing. I didn't stop working on this.
Right.
And as I shifted, they started to realize who I was now becoming, and they could see the benefits in that. And so they, it all worked out.
Oh, you've definitely
That's
got a
really
better block of friends than I do. I definitely lost people along the way where it was just like,
oh yes,
they just looked at me like, what is wrong with you now?
Oh, yeah,
no.
Or you're crazy, and they just don't understand. They're just not there yet. And so it's kind of one of those things where if you stop doing the role that you have always done, for example, the caretaker stops rescuing someone, or the wounded child stops seeking parental approval, then that makes them feel uncomfortable because their role is then changed. And it's kind of like there's this meme I saw online somewhere, and it's at a bar, and this butterfly and this caterpillar are having a drink and looking at each other. And the caterpillar says, "You've changed." And the butterfly says, "We're supposed to."
Nah,
I love that.
So did your guys' intuition, or more generally your psychic gifts, did they become stronger during your awakening?
I think I was finally aware that I had a psychic gift. Like, I think from that moment I was like, oh, I guess like I do have intuition and I should be practicing that. It didn't get stronger. I just noticed it.
Yeah.
And then it took time to develop it, alongside the healing. The more I healed, the stronger my gifts came in,
Yeah, that makes sense.
You paid attention to your true
exactly.
self.
Yeah. I was coming back home.
Kelsey keeps talking about integration, which I think is a key component of awakening. If you don't integrate the changes into your daily life, then the work, because the work's never done. The journey's never over.
Yeah, there's. It's not like you reach the final. I'm
no
awakened.
finish line.
Yeah, it's like no.
Yeah,
I guess the finish line is death in this case, I think. But okay, let's talk a little bit about the hard part. While awakening can bring greater intuition and awareness, it isn't always easy. As people become more conscious, unresolved emotions, old wounds, and limiting beliefs often rise to the surface, leading to periods of uncertainty, emotional healing, and even isolation in some cases. Sometimes awakening feels less like ascending into enlightenment and more like you're being cracked open. At the same time, many people notice heightened intuition, increased sensitivity to people and environments, vivid dreams, synchronicities, and a stronger connection to their inner guidance, like what you were talking about, Kels. The challenge is learning to trust these experiences while staying grounded, balanced, and discerning. Can't overemphasize the grounded part of that either. Awakening isn't about escaping reality. It's about seeing yourself and the world more clearly, even when that process is uncomfortable. So do you guys think that awakening can trigger a healing crisis or emotional upheaval?
I think absolutely so. And as far as the pace with which we awaken, having a near-death experience or an NDE is a very sudden, documented form of awakening. People just come back different. And that often begins their journey, but that's a very sudden way. I had my own NDE and didn't even know who I could talk to because it was in 2003 about this. It was not spoken about, but I went and researched it, and the psychic gifts were definitely heightened because of the expansion. There's an expansion.
And not everybody has that kind of flash moment like you had. Yours was exceptional. Mine was very gradual. Like Kelsey, yours was, what was yours?
Oh,
like?
mine, it was very gradual too.
Yeah.
I think it does trigger a healing crisis, though. Like, I totally believe that. I feel like it's kind of, I think when I first had my awakening moment, that's when I was like, I need to work on these triggers. Like, I'm too freaking triggered all the freaking time, and I need to start working on it. And so I did that on my own before seeking help, because I didn't know, actually, I was getting help, but I was very confused. I was very far away from myself, you know? But then this is when I dug deep, you know? And I remember telling myself, like, if you believe this person telling you or insinuating that you're a bad mom, it's because deep down you believe you're a bad mom. And so then I would ask my questions like that, like, how,
Or you got a fear of it.
this? Or yeah, I think I really did believe I was a bad mom at that time. But those are the questions I would ask myself. Like, do you really believe this? You must believe this. And so I would dig deeper and deeper and ask all the questions to myself until I could come to the truth of it, the core.
Right.
Now, how can someone tell the difference between a spiritual awakening and a situation where they might need professional mental health support?
Well, that's a good question.
That's a kind of a heavy question too. Sorry.
It is. And that's something I could probably riff about for too long. But I do think that there are some parallels between an episode of psychosis and spiritual awakening, because psychosis I would describe as not relating to yourself with the experience, but just describing the experience itself. In other words, you're separate or outside of it. And so you cannot find yourself at all. And it just goes over and over again about the experience instead of relating to yourself within the experience and going inward, like Kelsey described, and figuring it out. And someone in psychosis never says, am I in psychosis or am I crazy?
Right.
That's how you know someone is not psychotic, is if they ask that.
Yeah.
So, but there is differences. And I do think that people that need mental health support could be guided through and find the spiritual aspect of their experience with help.
Now, if you guys could go back in time and talk to yourself before your awakening began, what would you tell that version of yourself, if anything?
What about you, Cliff?
I would definitely tell myself, listen to those guys yelling at you to get out. And I would get out.
Oh, goodness. I think I would, if I could talk to her, I feel like I was talking to myself. Like, I'd always have moments before my awakening where I would hear voices in my head. It was probably future me.
Yeah.
Telling her to be calm. Like, it's okay. It'll work out. It's okay. Things will work out. Just be patient. Just be calm.
I think the more gradual spiritual introduction that, like, Kelsey and I have had is it's easier to get lost in it. With an NDE, it's like, bam, you're hit on the head with a hammer, and it's kind of hard to ignore.
Right, but you don't wake up as a medium and say, I'm going to do this for work. If the integration is gradual.
Yeah, but I mean, the realization is immediate. Whereas here, it's like, with me and Kelsey, it was sort of like the frog in the pot. You know, it's the water's getting hotter, but I'm still not psychic.
But it's a jacuzzi.
No, I get it. It's kind of like we're just hopping to the next stage, and then a little bit more comes out, and there's like trust, and there's, I think I kind of get it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important to embrace the confusion, because when we become too certain, we become one of those people that seem to have some spiritual superiority, which is a real danger.
Ooh, let's talk about spiritual superiority for just a second, because that's something that definitely exists, and it's something you really want to kind of sidestep, if at all possible.
True awakening comes with an enormous dose of humility, because it often does come with crisis and breaking of the false ego, and you realize, wow, I'm so small and yet expanding. And so if there is too much certainty in one way or one path in a spiritual practice with a guru, that's dangerous, because
don't say that word.
That's his or her, experience. And that puts you right back into being underneath another instead of from your own center.
Yeah, I never trust people who hand you a business card that has their name and has shaman written on it or guru written on it. It's like, no.
Right. There are gurus, but they don't call themselves that.
And they don't have a business card with guru written on it either.
No, they don't have business cards.
Yeah. And they probably don't have websites, and they probably don't have different tiers of membership that you can join and pay on a monthly basis.
Right.
But I digress. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about modern times then. It seems like more and more people than ever are talking about awakening, spiritual awakening, consciousness, healing, and spirituality in general. And there are many possible reasons why. Modern life often leaves people feeling overstimulated, disconnected, emotionally exhausted, with constant noise from technology, social media, and information overload. At the same time, many people are searching for deeper meaning and questioning whether the traditional ways of living, working, and relating are truly fulfilling. Conversations around mental health, emotional healing, intuition, and spirituality have become far more open and accepted than they were in the past, allowing people to explore these ideas more freely. Periods of collective uncertainty and rapid change also tend to push people inward. Encourage exactly what you were talking about, Kels, pushing inward, encouraging reflection about purpose, identity, and what really matters to them. Whether awakening is viewed as spiritual, emotional, or psychological, it's clear that many people are beginning to question old systems and seek a deeper sense of connection, both within themselves and with the world around them. So, why do you guys think awakening has become such a common topic now?
I think there are more people having those moments that are coming to their own awakening, kind of realizing like why, like what's the whole point, you know? Like when COVID happened and people now had an opportunity to stay home and got paid for that or whatever, they were finding like they were having more time with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, what is the whole point of going to work all this time when I don't even get to spend time with my kids? I don't even get to enjoy my life, you know? And so I feel like I think more and more people are just coming to that realization. So I think it's happening all the time.
So you're absolutely right, Kelsey. But why are more and more people doing that? Why are more and more people wanting to explore this side of themselves that they never knew? Do you think it's just COVID, or is there something else going on in the world? I don't want to say the A word, ascension, but I mean, why all of a sudden? Because it's a big topic now.
Well, yeah, I think we're moving away from a period of masculine energy. So like when I think of the way that it used to work, you know, like having good systems, following the plan, working really hard, and then it pays off. That's not working anymore. And I think it's because we're moving into a more feminine age, a feminine period where we're more heart-led, like being called to do what your heart is asking you to do or wanting you to do. And so I think more and more people are following their hearts and their own intuition, even if maybe they don't even know it or see it or realize it. But I do think that's part of it. I think we're all being called and asked to do like more heart-centered stuff.
Yeah, more power to that.
I think the veil is thinner than it's ever been. And with that comes a shift.
And when you say the veil,
I mean the, I guess, metaphorical line between the worlds, the spiritual and the physical.
Yeah, the separation between spirit and
It's
our
not
3D existence.
It's not as thick as before, and I think more stuff's coming through, and people that would formerly not have seen certain signs are starting to say, "Hey, what's going on?" I had a client yesterday that I spoke with and met with, and she's been on this gradual journey for 3 years or so. And I met with her and she said, I don't really know how to describe this, but I was looking at the plants the other day and I could see their vibration. And
cool.
I thought, wow, she wouldn't have even known that word like 3 years ago, right? But I said, good. You're seeing the auras. Dive into that.
Yeah.
Embrace the uncertainty of things. It's not you. It's not your head. You're not, going crazy.
No. I also think like we're starting to see past the facade. Does that make sense? So like I think like when I think about masculine age, I think about government a lot because it's such a structure and a masculine dominant structure, like a masculine energy. And
the old
now,
white man.
and
Come
now
on,
people
don't get down on me, guys. Come on. I want the feminine age too. Come on.
I wasn't thinking of you.
I think you are talking about you.
No, but I do think like we're now seeing the truth. Like you can see behind the lies. Like you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And that all comes from like being in your feminine energy, being in your heart.
Harmonizing, finding the harmony or the balance.
So then are we becoming more conscious or simply more aware of our unconsciousness?
I think that's kind of an important part. And I think shadow work has a lot to do with that. And by shadow work, I mean rediscovering the repressed parts of oneself. And shadow is not negative. It's not bad or evil. It's just what you don't see. You can't see behind your own back. I don't want people to be scared of the shadow.
Yeah. Well, I think that question alone, like, are we becoming more conscious or simply more aware of our unconscious? I think of like, that's the psychological awakening, right?
But
how so?
Like when I think of subconscious, I think about our psyche and the things that we suppress and we don't know that's there, but we don't know. We're not tapped into it. And I think that's like a very psychological perspective of it.
Wait, are you going to give a Jungian quote
dreams.
now too?
No,
oh yeah, I'm an expert. No,
but it has to do with the dream. But the unconscious comes to you in messages through dreams, which is spiritual.
Yeah.
So that's why it was, from that aforementioned dream,
that we cut out somehow.
It was telling me that woman I was jealous of actually was a shadow. It was these long, dark legs that I couldn't see the face of. So it was actually my shadow telling me, you're a medium. Get intimate with your mediumship.
Oh,
okay. That was a long walk to a good ending.
I was trying to make it more brief.
Okay.
But you wouldn't let me, and you're like, oh, here goes Jenni.
No.
Okay. Awakening can be exciting, beautiful, and transformative, but it can also feel overwhelming at times. The good news is that there are many simple practices that can help us stay grounded as we navigate periods of growth and change. Meditation and breath work can quiet the mental noise and create space for greater clarity. Time spent in nature has a way of bringing us back into balance, reminding us that growth is a natural part of life. Journaling, therapy, automatic writing, and other healing practices can help us process emotions and recognize patterns and better understand ourselves. Creative expression through music, art, writing, movement, dance, any form of creation can become a powerful outlet for insight and transformation. Just as important are healthy boundaries, honest self-reflection, and meaningful conversations with people who support our growth. Awakening isn't about escaping reality or transcending everyday life. If anything, it's about becoming more fully engaged with life, more aware, more present, more authentic, and more connected to ourselves and the people around us.
So what practices have helped you guys the most during your own journey?
Oh, for me, absolutely meditation. I mean, dreams are great when I have them, but I don't always remember my dreams. But meditation never fails me. It always gives me that kind of calm, everything's okay. I get a sort of a heaviness that makes me, it's like I know when I'm connected.
I'd say for me, dream work, for sure, which involves channeling. There's nothing that gives me more joy than having an aha moment from a dream about something that I couldn't formally figure out and leads me to my higher self. And I can kind of see her applauding me going, yay, you finally figured that out. So dream work is essential for me. It's provided the most healing, I would say.
Oh,
Kels,
good.
how about you?
Well, I think for me, it was a perspective shift into kind of just trusting that the universe is here to help me on my journey, and relying heavily on that trust and that hope that things are always going to work out. And I am being met with these challenges as I should be, And so it's kind of, I feel like it's just made my life a lot easier. Kind of like, just trust the process, just trust this. It's going to work out. Yes. Jenni?
I want to add something.
Yeah.
I actually dialogue with the aspects of myself that I discovered. And I think that whether people find that a little nuts or not is okay. But I have dialogues with my 8-year-old self all the time, and she's a genius. So I'm integrating her into my life instead of having her remain in shadow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so what advice would you guys give to someone who feels like they're just beginning to awaken? Tips,
I believe I would say that healing your trauma is definitely a part of the awakening, and it's a process, but to hang on, and that to stay curious rather than to be certain that you've got the answer.
Stay open.
The openness, not to expand. I mean, yes, expand instead of thinking that you're elevating above.
Yeah.
Right.
I think like you can tell a lot where somebody's at in their spiritual awakening when you ask them, like, are you ready to start taking responsibility for the things that you've participated in your life to create this, And then you can really see like gauge where they're at. Like if someone's kind of like, oh no, it's so-and-so's fault because they shouldn't have treated me like this. I'm like, okay, well, you're not taking responsibility for your own part in that too. And I don't know, I think I would say start taking responsibility and start taking accountability for the things that you've done and you've let happen to you,
Yeah. Now, do you guys think that awakening can ever make someone less grounded or more judgmental if they're not careful?
If humility is not involved, then absolutely. Humility is a sign of growth. And there are many, many so-called spiritual leaders out there that will seem as if they know more than the person awakening, when in reality, they just know their own awakening, but then they try to tell you how it should go. And so that lacks humility to me.
And to be honest, I think there are spiritual leaders out there that haven't gone through their own awakening.
No, but their wallet has expanded.
Yes.
Profoundly.
Yes. Exponential wallet expansion.
Yes. Yes. So don't confuse awakening with being special. It's just more being in touch with yourself, your true self.
Exactly. I would say like these are the ungrounded clients that I don't want to work with. I look at them as like the people who are into the woo-woo, but they're not here in reality. They're just kind of floating off in the heavens, being drifted off with the wind. It was funny because there was a session that I was a part of where we were all channeling, and somebody was asking like, what is my purpose here? What am I supposed to be doing? And I could tell by channeling, I was like, oh, she's a little bit in the woo, and she needs to be more anchored in herself. Like she wasn't very grounded. And so I told her, I was like, well, you need to be more present with yourself so that you can anchor in your own light. And her response was, that's too hard. And that's how I knew. I was like, no.
Oh my. Well, that's just holding on to the ego, because ego's kept her safe for this long. And so she just didn't want to lose that because it feels a little vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think we were talking about how we talk about it in every podcast, how these things are becoming much more popular, whatever it is, awakening, all the different things we talked about. There's a certain kind of like, people don't want to get left out sort of thing. So they may not really believe in the idea of awakening or spirituality, but they see it being a thing and they're jumping on board anyway.
That's so true. That is so true. They're jumping on the bandwagon because they don't, it's that, what is that? Mofo or whatever that is. No,
Oh, yeah.
FOMO.
Buy,
Sorry, not mofo.
buy one, get one free.
No, I said mofo and I meant FOMO. Dear Lord.
Which one is that? I don't know.
It's
which
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. Okay.
Yes, because what happens is when it gets into collective and things, and people start doing retreats or sound baths, they want to be part of it. But that's also a way that they can be introduced to it. So I think that finding friends that speak your language and finding a community that could guide you along or talk this language is actually really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, Kelsey, several years ago now, you and I had just come out of a course together, and everybody that had been in that course was jumping into a new course or series of courses by an unnamed spiritual person. And we both channeled on it independently and together. And we both got that we didn't need to take those courses, but I remember thinking like, oh, everybody's doing this course. I got to do this course. But, luckily we listened to our channeling and didn't. And
yeah, I remember. And I think that's why I preach about going inward, was because, well, first of all, after that big course that we did take and that we graduated from, did
we graduate?
I think so.
Okay.
Didn't you get a diploma?
I did. It's right there.
Oh my goodness! I
got a cup. Anyway, sorry, Kelsey.
But
I got a bill.
But I think once that was all over, I was just getting very little information. I was channeling like 1 or 2 words, and that was it. And the advice I was getting was to channel every day. They weren't asking me to go outside of myself. They were saying to step inside. And so that's what I did. And so now when I work with people, I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, that was my journey. And I believe everybody can have that same, they can have that same process. But I get like how it's hard doing that. And taking a course can sometimes feel like the fast track to getting the certificate that you want, But
yeah, or like chasing the next best guru, it's like, oh, I didn't get the desired results from this course, but this next course, that's the one that's going to put me over the top,
Yeah.
Well, sometimes joining those courses, you believe, oh, I'm going to have this new gift that's going to open up. And then you realize, wait, I already was doing that, or I already had that. And so you realize, oh, well, why am I looking towards someone else? On the other side of the coin, those that look to a teacher or a mentor or a guide for that kind of guidance can be helped by becoming more aware of what the signs are and of just what energy is. And I think that the future is going to hold a lot more people that are eager to learn that, because it does feel
it is helpful. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's not, but I think like for my case, like the reason why I couldn't is because I didn't really have the funds to just jump into the next thing, honestly.
You and me both.
You didn't need it. So the universe answered you. The universe answered you by saying, listen, you don't have the money to do that. Oh, by the way, you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're good.
I think like for people who are like in my situation, like if you can relate to my path, like you really don't have to, is my whole point, is that you can do it on your own.
I'm a big
nice
believer.
Shirt, Cliff.
As you can see by my shirt, it's the spiral, the inward spiral. The answers are always inside you. You don't have to go outside yourself for those answers. And I know, folks, we sort of digressed from our original topic of spiritual awakening, but let's get back to that. So awakening may look different for everyone. It does. For some, it's a spiritual experience filled with intuition, synchronicities, and a deeper sense of connection. For others, it's a process of healing, self-discovery, and becoming more aware of the patterns and beliefs that shape their lives. There is no single path and no final destination where we all suddenly have all the answers. At its heart, awakening, spiritual awakening, is simply becoming more conscious of who we are and how we want to live. It's an ongoing journey of growth, awareness, and learning to trust ourselves along the way. Stay curious, stay grounded, and trust your own experience. And remember, awakening, spiritual awakening, isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. My name is Cliff.
My name is Jenny. And remember, when you awaken, you are not alone.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Kelsey.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.